Lady, did you want to say anything?
Yes, a lot to say, but I'm happy to listen to Brent and
Yeah, I
how
like that, Brent.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
listen to Brent go on, really.
Thanks.
I think that you work too hard at being in your moment. That's a whole lot of shit, man. Like, oh my God, if I had to think like that, I'd be dead. I would have went. I don't do any of that. I don't look at that. I don't think of that. I don't teach that. But my thing is, like, if you are here on this planet for a very short time, you think you have time, but you don't. And and that's it. You're done. What are you here for? Does anyone really know why they're here? No one really knows why they're here. But I'll tell you what I do know. And this is only from, like, 50 years of doing this, that I now know what I do know, but it still changes. Is that you're here to be a guardian of this planet. You are here to understand all that is here for you. You are here to experience emotion. You are smart. You're here to use your intellect. But you are also to be as joyful as possible and be as passionate about joy as possible. It's not about, I know the ego is a big thing, but you're taught that. Imagine if when you were born, there was no religion, there was no culture telling you can't, just safety, survival. Well, what would that be like? Where would you be thinking now? You would have expanded beyond when you were before 7, but you're inhibited, blocked by culture, people, religion, crazy stuff that we were taught. Things I saw, I wish I never saw from my father and mother. We're taught it. So now to stop doing that, it's difficult because you have your ego to deal with. But for me, I spend a lot of time on them learning about what do you want now and what makes you the happiest? What makes you happy? Okay, this guy's not making you happy because you feel disrespected. So what? It's a lot of time you're wasting on that topic. Who cares? I mean, really, what's it going to do for you? If he starts respecting you, then what? The next person's not going to associate with you properly. You're going to have this angst again. So for me, it's about saying, why are we spending so much time on negative energy that we can have in our daily lives versus let's choose happiness, let's choose joy. And in the joy, these things don't show up. For example, this one woman, she changed her job. This is just recent. She changed her job. She's a nurse. She lost her job. She got another one back. She was panicked because she lost her job. And she's a nurse. That's hard to lose a nurse job in America right now, but she did. And when she got it back, she was panicked to lose it. Now they're having her go here and there and here and there. She goes, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to be driving all these places. I'm really tired. And I went, so how many I don't wants and I don't need, it shouldn't happen. How many negative things coming out of your mouth in a moment? I hear all the don'ts, but where's the wants? And she went, what do you mean? I went, what do you want? I don't want it. No, you said don't. What do you want? I want to go to work and not lose my job. Okay. What will that take? It will take you doing your job, right? Yeah. Whatever it is that's going to make you happy, tell them. Tell them. That's what you want. Tell them. Oh, I might lose my job. I went, you won't lose your job. You were like confused when you lost your job and that energy shift kicked you out. She's 30 years in her business. So there was a reason for it to happen. So what you did, I said, look, for just the week, just 1 week, I don't want you to say don't. I don't want you to say don't. I don't want you to say, I don't want to say what I don't want. I don't need, and I'm worried, I'm going to lose my job. I don't want you, don't do that. What I like you to do is I gave her breathing patterns. I gave her videos. I gave her projects to do. Just do this in the morning and do this before you sleep at night. And in the day, if you feel your mind going on, recite your memories, which I can give everyone, and stop the spinning brain. Stop the negativity going round and round. And please don't say anything out loud that's negative. Sure. I can't do all that. Did you say can't? You mean you don't want to? You see? I want, I don't want. Can't means don't want. Couldn't is a don't want. Everything other than want is I don't want. Say that. And then that's what's going to happen. But say what you do want, and that's going to happen. So for Brent's situation, oh, by the way, she didn't have to go out but 2 times versus every single day. Only 2 times she went out. And next week, she's not even scheduled to leave the hospitals because she has said what she wants. And now she's standing in it and it's not happening. She's not vibrating as the needy, oh my God, help me person. And the negative energy is coming towards her. And she had to get out of her way and say, she's worth it, man. You're worth it. What, are you kidding me? You're worth it. 30 years, you're a nurse. What do you want? You can have anything you want. 30 years? She went, yeah, that's right, 30 years. Huh? Go ahead, get what you want. Okay. Yeah, she's doing great now. That was in a week. So it's just about your mindset. And people say mindset's just, a lot of talking. Yeah, it's a lot of talking. But when you're talking to yourself, it's never positive. You don't sit around and remember things and it's positive. It's always negative. And remember, your subconscious does exactly what it's been trained to do. It only knows how to feed you back what it has learned. So your characteristics and your behaviors are learned. So your subconscious is also there to make sure you survive. It will do anything necessary to make sure you survive. It crosses the boundaries of you having freedom to save you when you don't need to be saved. So consciously deciding how your life should go is what the subconscious will learn. And soon it will overtake it. Soon you will have what you want a lot easier because it's there to help you survive. And what I want is to survive this way. And the subconscious will say, oh, lady wants to survive this way. Oh, she said it again. Oh, she said it again. Oh, she said it. And sooner or later, I don't have to say it. It starts replaying. And that is presence for me. That is, I am present when I am consciously deciding right here, what's the best thing. And it's always going to be joy. I'm always going to choose the happier end of it. And believe me, we all have shit that happens. Excuse my French. We all have it. But how you handle it in a moment, that's it. But thinking about it, all that, no, my subconscious is going to kick in and I'm going to go back to where I came from. And I don't want to ever do that. I want to stay on this side of it. And it's not difficult. You just have to stop thinking so much and choose what you want. I mean, if you ask yourself now, what do you want? What's the one thing that comes up? Is it that the guy respects you? Is that what you want? Is that really what you want? Is that the most important thing? What do you want? Oh, I want that guy to respect me. Then what? You're muted.
You're mute, Brent.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I want to, in that moment, I want to be free of the feeling I have of being disrespected. And that requires my attention on it to see what that is. And it also requires me to see the part of my ego that thinks I am that guy who can be disrespected, because that's not who I am. But
You're right, and that's all backward thinking. That's all backwards thinking. You already know.
It works for me. It works for me really well.
But you're still in it. You're still talking about it. It still bothers you.
I brought it up as an example to talk about.
Oh, I thought you were having it right now because you said
no, not anywhere near the way I was having it. But things come and go in life. You can't say that you're totally free of suffering and you're never going to suffer again in your entire life. If you say
I don't even think about it, Brett. When it shows up, I deal with the moment. I'm in the joy of the moment. If something crappy happens,
I don't want to get into an argument with you, but I'm just saying my approach is different than the one you're taking. I'm happy that it works for you.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments? Cody, I think, Cody, did you have anything you'd like to add? You're muted.
Yeah, I just got myself back on. I'm observing this and I see there's a lot of really cool methods. And what I do is I like to examine all those methods so I can help people who have no clue what we're talking about. And so I need to take them to help them go through the process of learning what you guys already know. So you're going to have to, in order to sympathize with me, you're going to have to imagine somebody who has no clue about what we have clues about. Somebody totally out of it as far as our level of this conversation. And now we're going to try to help them get somewhere. That's my challenge. So when I listen to you two, that was an interesting discussion for me. And I've attended a number of different things over the years to try to come to a conclusion. And I think I do. And the most magical thing that I've heard tonight is that talk about the difference between nothing and that mysterious something the Buddhists call the void, or the emptiness is what my
Emptiness,
brand of
that's-
Buddhist. Yeah. So there's different words for it. I've heard it called the transmission. There's energy, whatever. So I'm going to try to, my job, what I want, I guess arising in this moment is to help people find that. So it was interesting. Anyway, that's the 2 cents worth I've got for tonight.
There's lots of tools you can use to bring yourself into different altered states. Pretty easy tools. So that way you can sense it better or feel it better for yourself. Do you want me to tell you one?
Well, I was just, no, well, yes, but I'm just thinking, we've done some exercises on this, Dave and I, and that is through breath work, right? Holotropic breath work, which would take you into altered states as well. And Lady, I just, is there something you want to add to that?
Everyone, breathing techniques are excellent, but there's something that's not about that. It's so I'm also studying neuropsychology and neurophysics with two really excellent teachers. But anyway, I do that because I'm so skeptical and I need proof. So one of the things was, if you want to get between the spaces, take a nap holding something in your hand outside of your space, not like hold it here. Let your hand be outside and hold it. And you'll go to sleep, right? And when you do, that's going to drop. And when it drops, it'll make a noise and you'll wake, but not wake. You'll be, oh, and that's the space to find a reality that you maybe don't know about. That's the space, the place, not a place, it's the space. And in it, when you are in that, when it just happens, just wait a moment and get the sensation of it. And then once you understand it or sense it, then you'll find it in other ways. But it's a great, I mean, I did it just to see, because I didn't believe him. And yeah, he was right, it worked. Definitely was easier to just wake and be in that between the world space. And it was like, oh yeah, that was really easy. Not that you're going to do that all the time, but the point was, it's a great tool to just get a sense of what that feels like. And it doesn't, and obviously you're not going to be so far off from the floor, but the distance so that it makes noise when it hits.
So lady, that's exactly the track I'm on now, exploring the different levels of consciousness and then the process of going to sleep and waking up. So that's, and I use that as the model for finding this mysterious emptiness. So that it's cool to hear you talking about the same kind of thing. I never thought of that exercise. I do it through meditation, but yeah, that's,
I thought that was a great idea.
I'm going to try it tonight. I won't be holding a glass of water though.
No, I had a tin cup somebody gave me from their wedding.
Oh yeah.
So I
cool.
knew that when it hit the wood floor, it was going to ding, an unusual sound for me because I don't have, it's not my common sound for me. So when it hit, I was like, I knew what it was without saying, oh God, what's that? Which would snap me all the way up. And yeah, that I was just there I was in the space.
Cody, I just wondered about your meditation practice, if that didn't, take you into these spaces or other spaces.
Yes, it does. That's my whole approach to it. Is to see, the trick is we have what's that word? Mindfulness. We have mindfulness right now in waking state. So what I'd like to do, and I've only had a brief experience of this, but I'd like to have mindfulness in dream state. Then once I get that mastered, then I'm going to take that into deep sleep state. And I'm told that if you're mindful in deep sleep, that's your mind experiencing emptiness. So I'm going there and find out. Haven't got there yet. I'll let you know.
I'll see you there.
Cody, are you familiar with the Tao Te Ching?
Yes.
Okay, that's the book I would suggest if you hadn't weren't familiar with it because that's the whole theme of this. The whole thing is the darkness within darkness that's underneath everything, and getting into that emptiness.
Yeah, in fact, I'm studying the Tao Te Ching right now with a person who did a translation of it, and it's so fascinating. But you know, it's the type of Tibetan Buddhism that I study is very close. I haven't seen a single difference between the Tao Te Ching and what I've learned from my guru, Buddhist teacher. So it's very cool.
Well,
I'm glad to hear you say that because that that's the fault. That's what I'm working on right now, and so far so good.
Great.
well, I have another sort of question for Cody, and that being familiar with the Tibetan Buddhism and now studying the Tao Te Ching. If are you familiar with the with Talopa, Bodhisattva Talopa? Yeah, all
Uh,
of
I know of Tilopa, but
okay.
I don't know the stories.
Well, I again, it's I studied Talopa a little bit, and my understanding of the Tao is his. I think he was teaching the Tao. So if I don't know, just if you have a chance, maybe take a look at that and see if because I think yeah, Talopa was very much I think about the Tao. So be interesting to get some feedback on that.
It would be fascinating. And what I'm doing now is going through the Tao. Lion also goes to the same group and studies the same. He shows up and we all go through the Tao. And the person who is whose meetup it is has translated it. And so when we ask her, well, so the word mother and the word beginning and the word origin are sometimes in Chinese used interchangeably, the beginning of it all, or the birth of it all, or you know, there's a that. So we say, well, would this word be better, or would that word be better? And she will explain why she used that word. And there's another person on that same call who is also a translator, and he has his 2 cents worth. So I'm really finding it a joy to attend with these people. But again, it's just part of my learning experience. And this is what I was asking you, Brent, this concept of learning. Learning is a progression from one state of mind or education or whatever to another. So that takes time. So that then you're experiencing, so you might describe it as the present, but I would describe it as there was what you were in the past, there's what you are now, and there's what you hope to be in the future. So that's why I asked that question earlier. The concept of learning seems to be in conflict with the concept of only living in the now.
Not really, because the now is constantly changing, and to today's now is different than yesterday's now, and tomorrow's now will be different because it's always changing. So, and we never know everything, so it's a constant influx of information and knowledge about the truth. And so, yeah, it's going to be different as
Mm-hmm.
things go on.
It will be different. And one of the reasons it's different is because of the concept of will or intention. So if we have intention to become, I don't know, more educated in the Tao, or to change our way of talking from negative to positive, or instead of talking about what we can't have, we talk about what we want. If we want to make any of those changes, we apply intention. So intention can be, well, I guess anyway, I'm having trouble with the concept of the now only and ruling out this. In Buddhism, they call it the 3 times. So I kind of go with the 3 times usage rather than there's only one. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you're trying to achieve.
That's desire, that's desire. You got to have the desire.
Exactly. And
For it to
desire and
happen.
intention and goal and all that stuff, they're all related. So we're on the same page.
So,
Well, I
so
guess oh, sorry.
have you discovered that desire comes and goes? Like sometimes you're really desirous of something, and then later on maybe you're not so desirous, or you tell yourself what you're going to do, and it doesn't quite happen that way because when you get there to do it, the desire isn't there. Have you noticed that?
Yes, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. My desire is weak.
It comes and goes. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the way I see it is that it's not really controllable. Like when I want to do something and it's possible to do, it happens. When I don't want to do it, I can't. And so it's almost like desire is like really running the show. And we don't, just the idea of wanting to change that is itself a thought about another desire, which would be to change that. So you have to, desire is what shows up in our mind in the moment, and then it does what it does with us, and depending on how willing we are in that moment.
Yeah. I guess I want to go back though. We have these words like enthusiasm and that sort of stuff to describe feelings. Desire is a feeling. So when Lady was talking about that woman and she needs to focus on what she wants, she also has to have that feeling behind the words as well, right? That it's the feeling that causes the change. Would you say, Lady?
Yeah, the way that it works for what the concept I work with is you have to know what you want. You have to have passion for it. You have to repeat it, clearly repeat it, and then you have to strive towards it. It's not, let me sit back and wait for it to happen or get out of the moment or what's going to happen next. It's not that at all. She decided and she was worth it. Now she has her drive back, her passion was back. She didn't think she was. So I took her out of that. And when she started getting excited about it and realizing, yes, in fact, she did have all this behind her. And yes, she does need respect. And she definitely should be able to say what she wants. And she's got the background for it. And she's excellent. She's never late. She's on time. She's got all the package. Go say what you want. But you have to know that's what you want, and you have to have passion behind it. So passion is the word I use because that's the closest to what it's like in that space. I'm passionate about being in it, so that's the right word for me. I think enthusiasm could work too. I don't know. I haven't thought of another word. Just passion works. But is passion, what do you want? What's your passion behind it? Repeating it, repetition, and then do something. Move in the direction of what it is that you want.
Because the energies come forward to manifest what it is you want.
And then you'll have everything around you. Everything seems to show up to help you with it.
Support you.
So when you don't feel like you're wanting to do something, you don't really want it. So don't do it. That's not what you want. When you want something, you have passion and joy, you'll do it.
I want to go back to what you were talking about with the sleeping process. And I'm thinking, Shima, of, is it the rings or the layers of consciousness that Master Tahiri talks about? Is that what it is? Is it these layers around us?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, but because there are so many things that has mentioned.
I know
so
there's
like
a lot,
trying,
but I was
yeah.
thinking of the exercise Lady said when you
It's,
reach that moment in sleep where you drop an object.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
The reason it makes sense because one of the analogy that he uses is that we are like submarines. The submarines, when they are under the water, they do their main activity and they only come to the surface to do like taking care for the service, take care of like other services, right? So us, when we are asleep, that's when our spiritual self is awake. So that's when actually like the main job it's done, and it's hard to describe. And then when we are awake, we don't have that freedom to do everything we want, but in sleep we have. So then it comes with the connections, like when you get connected, then after a while you see that your dreams kind of become more lucid. It's like you see signs in your dream, like you get these awarenesses in your dream, like your dream becomes so much meaningful. So then that's that too. But everything that we do has to do with just connecting with the conscious. For us, like all the other thing also makes sense, like the way they're saying whatever they're saying, yeah, it's all making sense and it's all right, but the way we do it is just that we want that direct connection with the consciousness. So yeah, that's that. I just wanted to add actually one thing to what Brand says about being present. And I think you're totally right. And the present, but one thing about the present, that it's only present inside us. Everything else is past. Because when I'm talking to you, it actually takes you a little bit to hear me. Or when you see me, you don't see me. When you see me, it takes a fraction of a second for you to see me because of the speed of light and everything. When we see the sun in the sky, it's with the sun that we see, it's 8 minutes ago. So I see the sun now, but if the sun dies as a star, we see 8 minutes after. We see like whatever happens to it 8 minutes only after. So whatever is around us is past actually. It's not present. The present only lives within us. And yes, we want to find that present. So, but it's actually people usually deal with their past. And what I am here today, it's the result of whatever I'm doing, whatever I've done in the past, whatever my mother did, whatever like the generation before her, and then I go back and back and back. So we are all result of past, and the present is only exists inside us. So that's about the present. And I think one thing about the vast that lady mentioned. So for us, it's nothingness. And because we do have the dimension of time in this world, and then we do have the dimension of place, obviously there's place. And then after this world's only, that's when we die, when it's our physical body that dies. We never die because we are immortal, right? So our mind actually goes to the next stage of life, whatever that is. So then we are kind of, now we are past the place, or we are past the space. So space doesn't exist for us anymore. So for example, whoever dies, and if they're still around us, so whoever doesn't find the light, or they're still like too attached to this world, they still haven't found it, they can have 360-degree of vision all around them. They can be present, like people who do summon souls. I don't know if you believe it or not. I used to not to, but I do now. But they can do it. Doesn't matter where the person was, because they can summon it at any place that they want to. They can be present at any moment, at any place, because they don't have that dimension anymore. So we kind of surpass that dimension. And then we're also going to surpass the dimension of time at some level. And the only thing that exists is the conflict that we have. And that conflict of positive and negative, and right or wrong, and good or
The
evil.
duality. Yeah.
The duality exists until the last stage of like what we call the circle of life. And then that's only after that we can go to that nothingness and get dissolved within that nothingness. So yeah, one of the connections that we have is the connection with that nothingness. So that's that too.
Okay. All right. Any other comments that people have, or questions, or anything they'd like to express?
I made some notes, but they're like, now that they're all over the place, I can't really.
I remember the last time Cody joined us, he wanted to tell a story, a long story, and I'm hoping at some point we get to hear it. I don't know if you remember that or not, Cody, but I was interested. It was just, you were on the verge of telling a story. You said, well, it's going to take a long time. I was asking Diane if maybe at some point we ask Cody to tell us that story sometime.
So I remember that incident for sure. And I had a number of stories, and I don't remember which one I was going to tell, but I think it might have been the one about, if you read the Iliad or the ancient Greek stuff, they have an art there called bird watching. And it wasn't bird watching like we watch birds. It was actually bird reading. So they would as they lived their lives, they would observe the birds and interpret what they saw in as a gift from the gods. The gods were communicating through the birds. So I had some experience in that just it's but again, it's a little bit of a long story. So
Oh,
The
yeah.
symbolism, is it animal symbolism? Is that what it is, Cody?
well, that is part of it, yeah. So if you see an eagle, that's the bird that flies between the gods and us. And if you see a hawk, that's a hunter from the sky, same as an eagle, but it doesn't fly that high. And it has different significance. And if a bird flies from the west to the east, that's different than it flying from the east to the west. So there's a whole art in this reading thing. And in order to understand it, you have to study a little bit of shamanism, like what is the north and the south and the east and the west. And those who have studied shamanism or even Native Canadian spirituality, that's fabulous. And so now, is it all true or not true? Well, if you need scientific proof, then they have to devise the experiment and come up with it. But I guess you could say the same thing about tarot reading or many other mystical, magical experiences. But anyway, so bird reading, I had an incident with owls, and it was in the city of Hamilton twice. And I grew up in the city of Hamilton, and I lived there a long time, and I never see an owl in the city of Hamilton. But I saw two of them flying in the day in broad daylight in the same direction that I was driving when I saw them. And both of them were going from the east to the west. And it was really something. And of course, the owl is the symbol of death and change.
Oh.
And shortly after that, my parents both died. So am I reading into it? When a scientifically minded person would say, sure, you're just reading it was just a coincidence and all that. But yeah, sure it was. I know everything is just a coincidence for those guys.
Carl Jung might have something to say about that.
Yeah, and Rudolf Steiner said, symbolism is all around us, right?
Sure is. It
look
sure
at
is. You just have to read it or look at it. There's so many good things. Like my spirit name or my medicine name is Dreaming Crane. So I was named after a bird.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It's interesting, all these different belief systems that pop into our minds, and they're very different in a way, and they're very much the same in a way, because I think they all lead to the same place ultimately. But wherever we are, we're going to be attracted to what we're attracted to, whatever that is. And I just think it's interesting that a lot of things we're attracted to are stories that we've heard, rather than real personal experiences. And we get inundated, I think, with this because when we're kids, we're told not to go inside, and we're told to believe the belief system of our parents or the society culture. Even the state is involved in getting us to believe certain things. So that we all have that to contend with. And then as different things come and wake us up, then we go in that direction for a while, and we'll stay there as long as we stay there, and then we'll move off of that when that's not enough for us. So we're constantly moving around and looking to find the truth, and it's just a process of waking up. And I think we need to give ourselves a break once in a while and just say, look, I don't have all the answers. I'm on the right path. I can feel it. They will be revealed to me. Just be patient and be okay right now.
Yeah. And the symbolism, if I go on, can be just part of that truth thing to awaken us, because we are in a field of all possibilities ultimately. So it's going to certain things we will attract to us to help us gain a greater understanding.
And the thing about symbolism is it has to have the meaning for you. So sometimes, like, I see something in my dream and right away I know what it is. And I don't have to go look for it and then to see, oh, okay, so I saw this and therefore this means that. If I saw something and I really means I really know what it means. I don't really need to, and I should know it. It should be like really clear. But one thing I want to mention is the illusion quality of this work, because like I think we touched on that a little bit last week, and I think Brent was also mentioning the illusion quality, like if this is all illusion, and this is all illusion, obviously. So that's why we want to just connect with something, and we are going for what's true, right? It's just like we are on the path of finding that truth. But then so this is one side of the story, this is one side of the coin, but then the other side is that we are still living here, so we still have to deal with everyday stuff, we still have to deal with everything that around us, that the pain, the suffering, everything that human goes, especially at this time. So then that's the other side of the coin that cannot be unseen. And then I feel like through experiencing that, that's where we want to find the truth. So knowing that this is all illusion, but still I have to experience it. I still have to play with all this stuff in order to find the truth that I'm looking for. So yeah, that's what I want to add to everything.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Sheena.
The one thing I like about this group is that we're here about stories, and stories are full of symbolism. That's what stories are.
Mhm.
And that's how they used to communicate in the age when they knew more about consciousness than we know. So that's where all the clues are. All those ancient traditions are so beautiful.
Well, and also one thing I've learned over time, it took me a bit of time to get there, is all the science fiction stuff isn't fiction, right? There's a lot of truth to
Oh
it.
yeah.
And what we think is a
100%.
myth
It is
isn't
not.
really a myth, right? So it's
Yeah.
real. So anyway,
Yes, that's very
stories
true.
are actually quite important.
And
Sometimes.
then and science, if you think about it, our science is evolving, but then there are like scientific people that they are looking for, oh, I need to see this in order to believe. But when we are talking about this stuff, we are like, just like I said, we are on the step of love. This is like not, cannot be like really explained. We are trying to say in different words, put it to different words and trying to explain it, but it cannot be. And it's okay to question it, but it's just like through experiencing it that somebody would understand. Yeah. Otherwise, whatever I say, whatever you say, it doesn't really make sense, right? So they have to go and experience for themselves, but they have to be open, I guess. That's what I want to say, to be able to do that, because there are those scientific people who's like, oh, if it's not scientific, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna like look into it.
Yeah, actually, Charles Hart, just finished with that. He's a parapsychologist, and he was meeting scientists that had paranormal experiences.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to share it with their colleagues because it was paranormal experience, right? And so he's tried to build a bridge between the two, where they can feel more comfortable sharing these unusual experiences.
Science has really changed a lot, though, since I first started even understanding this, whatever. You couldn't talk, you couldn't breathe it. It was the machine as the body, and the emotional body had nothing to do with your health. Your food didn't matter, just doesn't matter. Everything didn't, just keep the body moving, work out 1,000,000 hours, and now they're telling you don't do that because it's not that good for your body anymore. So science is progressing, but you couldn't get anyone into a conversation without looking like a loony. You know, you woo-woo and you're this and you're that. What are you talking about? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you on medication? Like,
yeah, and
no.
that's okay too, because like they're gonna do that, they're gonna make fun of you, but at the end it's like, it's something that worked for me, and I only have, because you have to share the awareness, you have to share the consciousness in order for it to flow. I feel like we owe that to the consciousness, and then then it's up to people whether they what they want to do with it, right? Then that's gonna be their free will to decide.
Yeah, but I'm finding that's not true now. It's easy to have conversations with scientists about many things because they are now exploring more of it on their own or getting involved with it because it's not so taboo. Now it's like, uh-oh, we missed this whole section. Science was sure they were done. This is how it goes, and we're done. And all of a sudden this happens. Oh, so now you have other people coming in now. Yeah, they're brilliant, but they're also completely about the emotional body. What about that? That's a huge part of you.
Mhm.
I mean, now they're even showing that how the heart has its own brain system, so to speak. It's telling the body too and the mind too what it wants. It's
Yeah.
not just the brain controlling it and the second brain is the gut. It's not. It seems like every organ seems to have its own mindset, not exactly the same as a brain, of course, but it's sending off its certain signals and that triggers everything else to respond. They didn't know that. That's crazy, but now it's not. So they're talking a lot more. I'm happy to see it actually, because these
Yeah.
are Stanford and
It's getting better
Yale
for sure.
and
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what started this group off, was us telling stories, our real experiences of these, extraordinary events that we, were able to talk about, that kind of, pushed us out of that, our 5 cents reality, and into, trying to figure out what else is going on, so.
So I
even
want to
Einstein
remind
showed all this
people,
other
like,
crap.
I'm sorry, lady?
Einstein, what happened with him? Remember Einstein?
Yeah.
Didn't believe a damn thing that he proved. It's like, this is all crazy, but I'm writing it down anyway. And
And this is his own revelations because he had just desire in that field, and that's how he
yeah,
got the awareness in whatever his field. But he went to the shower, and one day just the connection came to him. It's like,
Boom.
oh, I found it, right, out of nowhere, right?
but he still mocked it every single, I mean, everything that he's written, but for me, it's like, yeah, he didn't believe any of
Well,
it. But it's
that's
just, like, there it is.
the nature of the scientific community, that they're up against. Anybody who really discovers anything that's extraordinary, they really got their work cut out for them, because that's what has been established. They don't really want to have to change it. They're very reluctant.
Yeah, I think it was it Lavoisier, who's a French guy, who I don't know exactly what he discovered, but then they decapitated him only to find a few years after what he found, and then they called him the chemistry father, and then they had to rebury him again. So it just all shows that there's always that resistance in the beginning, and then when they see, then when maybe their knowledge expands, and then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But they're always a little bit behind.
I'm just gonna tell you this quick
Um,
story.
I-
and I'm gonna go.
Yes, say one final thing, maybe?
Yeah,
want to
so these three semi-scientists and this older man, he was a scientist. He wanted to prove that there was a weight change when you die. So what they did was he was dying, and of course, there's no such thing as assisted suicide, but that's exactly what they did. They put him in a glass box, they sealed him in, and he asphyxiated. That's what he did do. He was on a scale. The body was on a scale. The box was weighed ahead of time. It's glass, on a scale. You can find it. You can look this up.
Oh, yeah.
And there he was on this. He got in it. He was going to die. He said goodbye to everyone. I want to do this. Here's, everything signed off on it. He died, and the scale got lighter. How? So if there's not something that can lift and move away from you, the scale would have stayed the same. Because if fluids come out, you're still the same. You're in the box, there you are, but it got lighter. So when they had these facts and they brought them to science, like, this is what happened, they were worried they were going to go to jail for it, but they were criticized, and no, you did it yourselves, and this is just not, there wasn't enough people there to prove what you're saying. There was 3. So yeah, they got that really a long time ago. And still today, they have no answer for it. We do. We have our belief for it. We have an understanding for it, or whatever your experience is for it. That yes, you're not just this. This is not you. But that little ounce or 2, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly now because it's a long time ago, the story. Yeah, I found that fascinating. And that for me was proof enough. Anyway, that's what I want to say.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who take advantage of the people's not knowing very much, and they'll make up stories, and they'll do something like that, which you just said, and it will be found out to be a fraud later. So we have to be very skeptical of anything. And if that could be repeated and a bunch of people can get the same results, then we can be confident in it.
Yeah, I'm all for trying it for somebody who wants to do it.
But also, like, if you think about it, like our mental, our mind, our mental body, our emotional body, those are not physical beings. Like, at the end of the day,
Right.
there is no way to it. Like, what you're saying is right, but I'm just saying there are so many other aspects to us. Like, one that we share with everyone else is just the collective spirit, that it's as vast as the whole universe, and that's what we all share as a human being, just that oneness that comes from it. So again, this, like, whoever, like, if you want to be in denial, you are always going to be in denial. It doesn't matter, like, whatever is going to be, like, told to you, you're still not going to believe it. But even without that story, right? So if you think about the emotional body, it has to be something. In the mental body, it has to be something, right? So the whole thing, like, what is the purpose of the whole thing? Like, why would God create us just for us to come here and then go to heaven and hell, like, based on if we do good or bad? So that's also, like, the religious view of it. But yeah, I just want to say, if you want to be in denial, or just, like, be very very fixed in your mindset or whatever you're taught, then you're just gonna be that.
I know it's getting late. I just
Okay.
had one final thing to say, and that is, if we are from, and I think of your master teacher, Shima, because he talks about perfection, right? You know, that which is out there is perfect. Am I correct in,
Yeah.
in interpreting, like, the Farsi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe you're not gonna get there in this lifetime, and we're all only gonna have this journey towards it, but not gonna find it in this lifetime. It's only, like, after this, and then after that we're gonna find it, that perfection. But we are going towards it. And the other thing, I know it's getting late, but that we have different selves inside us. So we got selves inside us that are pushing us towards that perfection, and there are selves that are actually they're kind of pulling us from it, right? So, for example, there is a self inside us that would not let us be in a present moment, and that's what Brent talked about. That's very important, to find that present within you, because there is something inside us that, for example, when I'm here, then I'm, like, thinking, oh, what's going on upstairs? Or, oh, just, and then I would just be reminded of yesterday, just, like, all of a sudden. So there is something, there's a factor inside me that was, like, not letting me actively, and it is one of my responsibility to shut it down. So as a human being, in order to just go towards that perfection, go towards the journey of self-awareness. And then there are other selves too, but it's just, like, just to that's just one example. So yeah, I just want to say that there is that the whole Kamal, that what we call it, is that a spiritual perfection that we are going towards that.
We're
Yeah, I just-
biological.
Sorry,
We're biological organisms also. We have brains. Those brains look for patterns. They find patterns, and what the truth is what the patterns show. And if you're a child and everyone around you believes a crazy belief system, then you're going to buy it too. And so
100%. Yeah.
we're dealing with all that garbage and baggage today.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And exactly, and there's more garbage and out there. And if you can't figure it out inside yourself and figure out whether it's true or not, and you don't know that whether it's true or not, then you're following a belief system. And I don't care whether it's yesterday's crazy Christian stuff or it's today's gurus, because there's a lot of nonsense going on there too. So you have to be able to distinguish, and the only way to
100%.
do that is to find the truth within yourself. And when you resonate with something from that place, then you can be confident that you're dealing with truth. But nobody needs belief systems. We don't need yesterdays, and we don't need today's, and we don't need tomorrow's. We need the truth, and that's available inside of us. So that should be the goal, to find it inside. And any guru worth his salt will tell you that they found their pathway to truth within, and that you have to find your own also. unless they're the kind of guru that likes a big audiences and wants you around and paying your fee to get to see them, which some of them do.
And I think Master, because I watched that video you sent,
Yeah.
and he was very sincere on the fact that it is up to you to do the work, right? It is you.
100%. It's
Yeah.
what we deal with here is the human free will, and it's like nobody can mess with that. Like we can just share whatever we share here. Then it's up. Like there is no obligation. There is nothing. Because one thing that I feel a lot of people they're like against religion. Myself before all this was just that obligation, like that thing that destroys you, and it's like, oh, you have to believe in this like belief system, whatever that is. But at the end of the day, it's first of all, it's gonna affect you as a child. It's all because you're just like a sponge. It's all gonna be forming your thought process. But it's at the end of the day, your job is just to hear everything, all the information that it's there, and just to decide for yourself, this is working, this is not working, right? It's like recycling, right? Like, you recycle your stuff. It's like, okay, this is good, this is not good, you just throw that out, this is working. And that's your job as a human being. If you just like following something because your fathers or your mother believe in that, then there's just something wrong with you.
All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you for your comments to Shima and everyone. And Brent, thanks for joining us tonight as well. And Lady, because I know Lady, it's very late there where you are.
Midnight now.
Yeah. And I just want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and hope to see you all next week. If you can, because I will continue it on Wednesday, next Wednesday, and also into the new year. So thank you again. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, or any stories that you'd like to share, please, you can connect with me, and share those with me through Meetup. And some of you have my email address as well.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas all.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
you.
Good night.
Everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.